Hello, I'm Rob Slater. Welcome back to the Clearwater Safety Channel, where we aim to bring you practical solutions to your real-world safety problems. If you're new to the channel, please make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss new videos as they're released. Also, make sure you check out the links to any companies we work with. Okay, so let's talk about fire risk assessments. Now, once upon a time, you would call your local fire brigade and they would come and inspect your premises and give you what they called a fire certificate. Now, that all changed in 2005 with the advent of the Regulatory Reform Fire Safety Order, known either as the RRO or more commonly as the Fire Safety Order. Since 2005, it's been the legal responsibility of the premises controller, usually the occupier, to ensure that they have a fire risk assessment carried out. Now, the fire safety order covers all non-domestic premises, that's offices, shops, factories, warehouses, hotels, schools, nurseries, care homes, etc. But it also includes the communal areas of blocks of flats, and this actually captures a lot of people out when they try and sell a flat. The reason that communal areas are counted as non-domestic is that normally no one person owns or controls them. Multi-occupancy properties, HMOs, also need to have fire risk assessments. So if you're the landlord of commercial property with several tenants, which would include blocks of flats, you must carry out a fire risk assessment on the common parts, the corridors, the storage areas, etc. If you are the tenant of an office or workshop, you also have a legal duty to have your own fire assessment done. There's really very little point in the common areas being assessed as good if your workplace is full of flammable materials. If it's only you and a couple of people in an office in your back garden, it'll be a very simple little thing. But a factory unit with, say, flammable materials stacked to the ceiling and 10-20 employees milling around, or maybe a care home with bedridden residents, well, that will need to be a far more comprehensive document. So what does a fire risk assessment look at? Well, it looks at the building itself, the type of building, the construction, the internal, external finishes, and importantly now, it includes the external cladding. Then it looks at what we call the relevant persons, that's the actual people who are going to be in the building at the time. It'll look at whether they're working or, importantly, whether they're going to be asleep. Also look at the physical and mental capabilities of the people. Can they understand the alarms and get themselves out of the building unaided, or do they need assistance? Then we consider potential sources of ignition, the areas or tasks that may provide the source of a fire. This could be a workshop possibly, or maybe a roof with hot works going on, grinding or cutting tasks, creating sparks. Could of course be a kitchen. Or it could be dodgy electrics. You'd be surprised how often I see black and light fittings or sockets. Now we look at the fuel. What's in the area that a fire could feed on? Again, this could be petrol, like in this, but more likely it's going to be cardboard or paper or just old furnishings. Could of course be a waste material. Moving back to the building, we look at the compartmentation. This is how doors and maybe barriers in roof spaces are used to create compartments that can contain a fire for a certain length of time. This of course allows the relevant persons, the occupiers, time to escape while the fire is contained. One of the largest causes of injuries during a fire is the lack of compartmentation. The fire and the smoke will spread throughout the building before people have had a chance to escape from it. Staying with the building, we look at the escape routes. Now obviously these are the ways out of the building that the people can use in an emergency. Again, the number of times I find these have been obstructed or even locked, it's unreal and really quite scary. We look at fire doors. Now they're an integral part of the passive fire safety management of the building. We look to see if the doors creating the compartmentation have any fire rating. We'll look at the hinges to look at how they close. Do they close? Then we'll look to see if there's any sort of a fire alarm installed. We consider, is it in the right place? Is it the right type? Has it been serviced? And are the detectors covered up? I mean, really? And then finally we look at fire extinguishers. Now again, these need to be the right type, in the right place, and they must be maintained regularly. by a competent person. So why is having a fire risk assessment so important? Well, it should pick up on any deficiencies and bring them to the attention of the relevant person, the person in charge. Since the Grenfell Tower disaster in 2017, the law around fire assessments on residential buildings, particularly the taller ones, has been tightened. We now have the Building Safety Act, the Fire Safety Act and the Fire Safety England regulations, which have all brought in more requirements for the regular checking of fire doors and other things. Now, what this means in effect is that your average property landlord will probably not have the necessary skills, knowledge and experience to carry out a suitable and sufficient fire risk assessment. So as a layman, you're not expected to know how to carry out this risk assessment any more than you're expected to know about any other type, but you are required to make sure it's done. The law does say you can do it yourself. As with all things, do you feel competent to do a proper job? If you are, then go ahead and do it yourself. However, if your property has people passing through it or sleeping in it, and it's strongly advised that you bring in a professional. So thanks for watching. If you've got any comments or questions, just leave them in the box below. And as always, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.